If you're like me, you've always wanted a short barrel rifle for more maneuverability through the brush, but you're worried about giving up too much bullet velocity and downrange energy that a longer barreled rifle offers. Today, I shot these two rifles with the same ammo using the Garmin Zero, and I've got the ballistic data right here. How much of a difference is it? We're about to find out. What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I've got two rifles here. They are both Browning X-Bolt 2 speed model rifles in .308. The one in the front is the standard speed model that has a standard length barrel. The one in the back here is the Speed SPR, which is the suppressor ready model and has a shorter barrel. The X-Bolt 2 standard speed in the front has a barrel length of 22 inches, overall length of 42 inches, and weighs in at 6 pounds, 12 ounces. The X-Bolt 2 Speed SPR has a barrel length of 18 inches, and overall length of 38 inches without the suppressor, and an overall length of 44 inches with the suppressor. And it weighs in at 6 pounds, 10 ounces. Personally, I like the idea of the SPR model with the shorter barrel for a couple of reasons. It's easier to walk through the woods without getting hung up on limbs and brush with the gun slung over your shoulder. Additionally, if you do use a suppressor, it's going to be more maneuverable. But I've always worried about giving up too much bullet velocity and downrange energy, which is why I chose the standard length speed carbon fiber for my new 6.8 Western hunting rig. A 24-inch barrel with a 6-inch suppressor is long, but I plan to hunt elk with this rifle and definitely didn't want to give up too much downrange energy. But these two rifles are different. The biggest game I'm going to shoot with either of these two .308s are deer. The most commonly referenced energy number to anchor a deer is 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. Of course, there are a lot of factors that influence that number, like bullet construction, but for this comparison, we'll use 1,000 foot-pounds of downrange energy. Here's how I did this comparison. I did a 3-shot sequence with 3 different bullet weights and took the average of the 3 shots with each rifle to compile the data. One other thing, I used a 100-yard zero for this test. The first ammo option is the Browning BXS ammo, has a 150 grain bullet, has a BC of .415, and an advertised muzzle velocity on the box of 2,820 feet per second. The second option is the Long Range Pro Hunter. It has a 165 grain bullet, has a BC of .445, and an advertised muzzle velocity of 2,695 feet per second. And our last ammo option is the Browning Silver Series. It has a 180 grain bullet, a BC of .382, and an advertised muzzle velocity on the box of 2,620 feet per second. The advertised muzzle velocity on the box, I think, is taken with a 24-inch barrel. I'm not 100% sure, so there's going to be some variation even with the standard speed model here, because this is a 22-inch barrel, and then obviously the 18-inch barrel on the SPR. So let's dive right into this data with the first round that I shot, which is the 150 grain Browning BXS ammo. I shot the standard speed rifle first. That has the 22-inch barrel. We had an average muzzle velocity of the 3 shots. It was 2,761 feet per second, which is slightly under the advertised muzzle velocity of 2,820 feet per second. But again, I think that's with a 24-inch barrel, so I expected it to be a little bit less. Foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards, we had 2,166 foot-pounds of energy. And then I chose a distance of 300 yards because for me, it's really the maximum distance that I'm going to take a shot at a deer. So that's why I chose that distance, kind of my maximum range. So at 300 yards, the amount of drop is 13.7 inches, and that's with a 100-yard zero. So it's going to drop 13.7 inches at 300 yards with the standard speed. Our 300-yard energy in foot-pounds is 1,525. And so then I factored in one more thing that I factored into the equation is using that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, what's the maximum yardage that we could ethically kill a deer? And with the standard speed rifle, the 22-inch barrel, we still hit 1,000 foot-pounds of energy all the way out to 525 yards. So a long way out there. So now with the Speed SPR, the 18-inch barrel, muzzle velocity of the 3 shots, the average muzzle velocity, 2,681.9 feet per second. 100-yard energy is 2,049 foot-pounds of energy. The drop, 300 yards, is 14.8 inches. 300-yard energy, 1430. And then the maximum yardage that we get 1,000 foot-pounds of energy is 490 yards. So you can see the differences there. Let's move on to the Long Range Pro Hunter. With the Long Range Pro Hunter, again, we shot the standard speed rifle first. Our muzzle velocity of the 3 shots was an average of 2,657.7 feet per second, just barely under the advertised muzzle velocity, so not too far off with the 22-inch barrel. Our 100-yard energy is 2,238 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards. Our drop at 300 yards is 15 inches with that 100-yard zero. And then our energy, foot-pounds of energy at 300 yards is 1,600. Going all the way out to that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, our maximum yardage is 565 yards. Now on to the Speed SPR. Our muzzle velocity went down to 2,568.9 feet per second. Our energy at 100 yards was 2,069 foot-pounds. Our 300-yard drop in inches with that 100-yard zero is 16.3 inches. Our 300-yard energy is 1,491 foot-pounds of energy. And then our maximum yardage to still maintain that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy is 520 yards. So our differences, muzzle velocity, we lost almost 89 feet per second. Our 100-yard energy, we lost 169 foot-pounds of energy, or 7.6%. And then it dropped an additional 1.3 inches between the 2 rifles. At 300 yards, we lost 109 foot-pounds of energy, or 6.8%. And then to maintain that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, to ethically kill a deer, we lost 45 yards. So that's what we're looking at on the Long Range Pro Hunter. Let's move on to the Silver Series, our heaviest bullet. Muzzle velocity on the standard speed model with the 22-inch barrel, we had 2,649.9 feet per second. 100-yard energy, 2,371 foot-pounds of energy. Our 300-yard drop was at 15.6 inches. Our 300-yard energy is 1,594 foot-pounds of energy. And then our maximum yardage to maintain that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy is 525 yards. With the Speed SPR, muzzle velocity again dropped. We went down to 2,585.7 feet per second. Our 100-yard energy was at 2,229 foot-pounds of energy. 300-yard drop was at 16.6 inches. We have 1,511 foot-pounds of energy at 300 yards. And then our maximum yardage to maintain that 1,000 foot-pounds of energy is 495 yards. So the difference is we lost 64.2 feet per second. Our 100-yard energy, we lost 142 foot-pounds of energy, or 6%. Our drop at 300 yards was 1 inch more with the SPR. And then our energy, we lost 83 foot-pounds of energy, or 5.3%. And then at the maximum yardage for 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, we lost 30 yards. So that is the data. After looking at all this data, here's what I think specifically about deer hunting with a 308. I'm not going to take a shot over 300 yards at a deer, at least not where I hunt. All 3 ammo options were over 1,400 foot-pounds at 300 yards, so that's more than enough. Using the 1,000 foot-pounds of energy to anchor a deer standard, they all had a max range of over 490 yards, which again, I'm not shooting at a deer that far. The bullet drop difference at 300 yards is not that much, less than 1.5 inches more drop with the biggest gap of these 3 ammo options. So which rifle am I taking to the woods with me on Missouri's firearms opener? The Speed SPR. But when it comes to elk, I'm not sure I want to give up any bullet velocity or downrange energy. I think I'll deal with the longer barrel and just be aware of obstructions as I move through the brush with my Speed carbon fiber back here. I don't know, what do you guys think about short barrel versus long barrel rifles for deer and bigger game like elk? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your opinion. I appreciate y'all sticking around, and we'll see you next time.